Comedian and actor Jim Carrey was born in Newmarket, Ontario, Canada on January 17, 1962. Carrey was part of a family of six. Before his father lost his job at age 12, he was a straight-A student. He went to Northview Heights Secondary School, Aldershot School, Blessed Trinity Catholic School, and Agincourt Collegiate Institute. Jim later had to drop out of school at age 16 to earn money for his family. He had to work 8 hours a day as a janitor after high school every single day, and this knocked his confidence so much he never wanted a friend and didn't even want to know anyone's name. That is, until he discovered comedy. Comedy was always Jim's comfort. He was always cheering up his mom in times of hardship, and he used his ability to always laugh to start stand-up comedy. Carrey got his start with stand-up at a Toronto comedy club when he was just 15 years old. By 1979, he had left the factory job as a janitor he had taken in 1978 to help support his family, and he was making a living as the opening act for successful comics Buddy Hackett and Rodney Dangerfield. This breakthrough convinced him to pursue his talent. So he headed west towards Hollywood and helped to produce many popular films such as Dumb and Dumber, The Truman Show, and Bruce Almighty. Jim Carrey also met and married Melissa Womer, with whom he had a daughter named Jane. The couple would later go through a very messy divorce, freeing Carrey up for a brief second marriage to actress Lauren Holly. Jim Carrey was always a happy and loving kid, but when he started working as a janitor and his grades started to drop, he didn't have any confidence or motivation to do anything. Jim has the identity diffusion. The identity diffusion is essentially acting stagnant. Carrey had no idea what his life was bringing him, and he was not trying anything new. Then, Carrey started to explore and graduate from this diffusion state and started to explore comedy. Comedy allowed him to present his true self to an audience, and it was what he enjoyed doing. Jim started the identity moratorium. Jim never just stopped looking at new opportunities, he was always looking for another way. Out of his whole family, Jim was the one who explored what the world had to offer him and went out to do it. He didn't sit with his poverty-stricken family just working as a janitor, but instead went out and embraced the outside world. Slowly, as he started to turn from just stand-up comedy and go to acting as well, Jim knew this was the path he was going to take. Even though he achieved this identity, though, he never did the same thing and he kept on risking.
I could never be the type of person that thinks, okay, this works, now I'm just going to do this forever. I'm always risking it and pushing it, and that's the only thing that keeps me alive and keeps me interested in this business.
It is this reason why I wouldn't say Jim Carrey ever changed to foreclosure, but rather achievement. Foreclosure would be selling out and just being satisfied with what you have. It would be going on the obvious and easy route. Instead, Jim Carrey struggles through a period of time to come to understand that the beauty in life with its ups and downs. Today, Jim Carrey speaks openly about his life and his journey to achievement. Achievement is being happy with what you have found through exploration. Jim Carrey has found his passion and now tells us about how he got there. Depression is a mental health disorder characterized by persistently depressed mood or loss of interest in activities, causing significant impairment in daily life. The symptoms of depression are trouble in concentrating, remembering details, and making decisions, fatigue, feelings of guilt, worthlessness, and helplessness, pessimism and hopelessness, restlessness and insomnia, early morning wakefulness or sleeping too much, irritability, loss of interest in things once pleasurable, overeating or appetite loss, persistent, sad, anxious, or empty feelings, and suicidal thoughts or attempts. Jim Carrey admits to having depression for years and is first diagnosed with depression in 2004, but continues to battle with the depression until 2009. At this time, he decides he has to open up and tell his story. He has to share his struggles with others. Jim was treated for depression and prescribed Prozac. He was also diagnosed with ADHD and severe mood swings. Comedy was his way of escaping his feelings of depression. This was the coping mechanism he used long before he was diagnosed with depression. Family problems and financial problems forced him to take on greater responsibilities than normal for his age. A lack of spiritual connection left him feeling alone with his fears and struggles. All these factors held him in a depressive state which he struggled with daily. Jim overcomes his depression by opening up about it. He comes to accept the beauty of life with its highs and lows. He also avoids drugs and alcohol, which only add to depression. His recovery was slow, but along the way he discovers himself through art, another gift from his depression.
What you do in life chooses you. You can choose not to do it. You can choose to try to do something safer. Your vocation chooses you. When I really started painting a lot, I had become so obsessed that there was nowhere to move in my home. Paintings were everywhere. They were becoming a part of the furniture. I was eating on them. I found myself looking around at one point in a really bleak winter in New York, and it was just so depressing, and I think I needed color. You can tell what I love by the color of the paintings. You can tell my inner life by the darkness in some of them, and you can tell what I want from the brightness in some of them. When I was a kid, I spent half my time in the living room performing for people. I spent the other half the time in my bedroom by myself, writing poetry and sketching. I was not the type of kid you could say, as a punishment, go to your room, because my room was heaven to me. My isolation was welcome. The energy that surrounds Jesus is electric. I don't know if Jesus is real. I don't know if he lived. I don't know what he means, but the paintings of Jesus are really my desire to convey Christ consciousness. I wanted you to have the feeling when you looked in his eyes that he was accepting of who you are. I wanted him to be able to stare at you and heal you from the painting.
Jim Carrey struggled with depression, and he is attracted and relates to others that also struggle with depression. This is apparent in his relationship with his girlfriend, Catriona White, whom he sadly loses to suicide.
6 years ago, at a time when I was trying to heal a broken heart, I decided, well, maybe I'll paint.
When your heart is in love, you're floating, weightless. But when you lose that love, you have to re-enter the atmosphere. And it can get pretty rough. You're just bouncing off one molecule and onto the next, ripping through them at such a pace that they just ignite and explode until you find another heart that's doing the same thing, has landed and cooled, and then you start to float again.